Curious about what to include in your web design contract with your clients? Stay tuned, we're going to be talking all about what to include in today's video. This is the second video in a series for all you web designers out there and freelancers who are helping your many clients through your website design business. And today we're talking specifically about what your website designer contract template needs to have inside of it. Now, there's many different things that you'll want to consider, but the three most important ones are the ones I'm going to highlight here today. But if you want a full list of everything to include or just a checklist to compare against some kind of contract that you have now, there's a download linked below this video, or you can go to rocksolidcontract.com and pick that up for yourself. The first thing I always like to see inside a website design contract with any kind of client is something called a no pause clause. That's not its official legal name. You can call it whatever you want. The title really doesn't matter. But what this thing does is it allows you to put some kind of penalty or incentive in place in case a client goes missing in action. And I know those of you who are doing this for a little while, this is like one of the most frustrating things that you've probably experienced as a website designer. And here's what usually happens. Someone's really excited to work with you. They can't wait to get on board as a client. They pay their first payment, and then you might not hear from them. Or maybe you get into their project a little bit more than that, and at some point they just start to ghost on you. Usually it's because of their own mindset stuff and things going on in their own personal life, but that's not your problem. You have other clients and other things you could be doing that you probably would rather be doing instead of working on a client's website who doesn't really care whether it gets done or not. And so a no pause clause is what is going to help you in order to keep that project moving along, or if the client is just missing in action, to charge them some sort of fee in order to get restarted on their project. A no pause clause says something to the effect of the fact that a client can't just up and leave. They can't just go missing out of nowhere, especially if it's longer than a week and they haven't told you about it in advance. So like if they're going on vacation and they're out of touch and they tell you about it in advance, usually this won't apply. But in the normal situation where the client has decided just to not respond to any of your emails, or they're feeling overwhelmed, or whatever the case may be, it's a really good idea to have a no pause clause that says something like, you're always going to respond within 2 business days. We want to give them some kind of reasonable amount of time to respond. We can't just say like 12 hours no matter what, right? Because like people are sleeping and there's weekends, holidays. We have to be reasonable. But also we need them to be reasonable for us. And in order to keep their project moving along, realistically, they need to be responding within probably 2 business days. And so that's typically what my templates have inside of them. Another component to the same clause is what happens if the client truly is missing. What do we do to restart that client's work? Typically, the client has to pay an additional fee. A good idea is always to have them sign or at least initial next to this extra fee, just because if they go missing, we can point back to the contract and say, well, actually you agreed to this. You could have made changes or requested edits, but you just signed next to this and we moved on with our lives. So we're gonna hold you accountable to fulfilling your part of the no pause clause because I did my part. I got everything to you on time, and we're trying to move this project along so that we can work with our other clients. This is a business that we're running, not a daycare. Another thing that you might not have inside of a contract, but really should be there, are any kind of monetary exchanges, aka like payment plans. If the client is paying according to a payment plan, we are going to want to make sure that we list out exactly what amounts that they're going to be paying and when, not just every first of the month or every other week. We want to actually put in the dates if we can. That way, if it's March 1st and they owe us $1,000, and then we go to sleep, we wake up, it's March 2nd, and we haven't been paid the $1,000, we know that we either got the money or we didn't on that date, on March 2nd. That way it's incredibly cut and dry. There's no ambiguity. You know exactly whether you got paid or not and when that payment happened. And if it didn't happen on time, you hopefully have some other clauses in your contract that are going to protect you from those late payments. Maybe a certain fee applies after they pay when it's a certain amount of days after that invoice date was due. This is really gonna help you to stay on track, because if a client is supposed to pay on March 1st and you don't receive payment by March 1st, You can also give them the option that you're going to pause their work with you, and in order to get restarted, they're going to have to pay an extra fee. A client isn't going to continuously pay these extra fees. They're just going to make sure that they stay on top of their payments and that they're not disrupting the work with their constant failure to pay you on time. One last little note, it really helps to have some kind of automatic invoice system, not just sending clients a PDF. It's 2021, there's no excuse for you not to make it super easy for your clients to pay. If you're still asking for a check or going old school in some other way with like mail, a lot of clients are gonna fall behind because it's just too hard to pay you. So get a PayPal account, get a Stripe account, whatever it takes, get some kind of CRM like Honeybook or 17 Hats, whatever it takes, and invoice your clients. Set those invoices up ahead of time so that it's sending automatic reminders, automatic invoices, and the client can pay right from their phone or their mobile device or laptop, whatever it might be. I know checks and cash have less fees, but you can also even use payment processors like Melio or only accept PayPal payments that come from a bank account, and those can help to cut down on some of those credit card processing fees. Basically, cash and checks are just such a pain in the butt for you and your clients. You're really doing both of you a disservice if that's the only way you'll get paid. I mean, you're a web designer, for crying out loud. You're not a clown at a birthday party. You literally make a living off of the internet. Use it. Finally, the third thing you'll want to include in your website design contract is any kind of specific services that you are going to offer your client during your engagement with them. For example, if you're offering them a logo, don't just write logo, but maybe instead consider writing out exactly what's included with that logo. Is it a full branding package? What does that include? Does it include a logo with 1 round of revisions, with 2 rounds of revisions? Does it include a coaching call so that you can kind of coach them on how to use their brand? Is the coaching call 60 minutes? Is it 30 minutes? The more specific you can get with what's included, the more successful you will be working with your clients, the more happy they will be because they know exactly what to expect. And you also know whether or not everything was delivered. And there's no ambiguity, there's no back and forth with the client because you can point and say, well, we had our 60-minute coaching call. Actually, it was 63 minutes on January 4th. And, it's so easy with tools like Zoom or Skype or whatever else you might be using for your video conferencing calls with your website design clients to keep track of these things and keep a record in your calendar of exactly when they happen, how long the calls are, so that we're not giving clients any kind of leadway to ruin our day with some kind of BS claim that we didn't give them what they paid for. One final story. When I first started, I hired a website developer to design a website for me. I did not know the difference between a developer and a designer. If you are going to offer any kind of design services, this is also why it's really important to be specific, but to make sure that your client is on the same page as you, because if they're new to business or if they're new to hiring freelancers or website designers, they might not know these things, and don't take it for granted that they do just because they're contacting you. They may have seen some of your work and they have no idea what you actually do. They just know that they want to have a similar website to the one that you created for someone or for yourself. If you like this, if you think I'm even remotely funny, then make sure that you are hitting subscribe, you like this video, and you're downloading all the resources that we're linking to it beneath the video, because we want to make sure that you are really successful in your website design business. I can't wait to see you in our next video, so make sure that you catch up on the whole series. I'll see you there. Take care.